if your brand could rise above the noise? Not with more content, but with a smarter, strategy-driven plan that actually moves the needle. Hi, and welcome to the You World Order Showcase podcast, where we feature life health transformational coaches and spiritual entrepreneurs stepping up to be the change they seek in the world. I'm your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist, on a mission to help coaches amplify their voice, monetize their mission, and get visible. If you're ready to start attracting premium clients without chasing algorithms or hunting people down like a banshee on a mission, head on over to coachesalchemist.com and schedule your free client acquisition audit. It's the first step to building a business where your clients seek you out rather than you having to hunt them down. Today, we are chatting with Lori Asbury. Lori is the president and CEO of CMOco Marketing and Advertising, a proven leader with over 25 years of experience in senior level management, strategic brand development, organizational operations, and consumer marketing. Having led billion-dollar brands like HGTV, Fox television stations, and the CBS television stations, Lori brings unmatched expertise in building powerful, recognizable brands that have driven both awareness and revenue. With an MBA from Cornell University and a BA in journalism from the University of Oklahoma, she combines analytical insight with creative storytelling to help businesses craft data-backed marketing strategies that deliver real results. A lifelong animal lover and ASPCA supporter, Lori is also a former farm owner and competitive equestrian who brings both discipline and heart to everything she does. Welcome to the show, Lori. It's great to have you with us.
Hey, thank you so much. It's such an introduction. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm super excited for our conversation.
You're so young and you've done so much.
I might be younger. I might look younger than I actually am. I've been around the block. That's for sure.
I hear you. What's the most significant thing, in your opinion, as individuals we can do to make an impact on how the world is going?
Gosh, most importantly, I think you need to serve. Find any way that you can serve, whether it be through your church or through an organization that you care about. I'm super passionate about animals and the care and well-being of animals. So there's a lot of organizations that I'm involved with in that regard. Obviously, I'm into horses. I'm a horseback rider, compete in horses, and so have a strong passion for horse care. And but also I really get involved in my church and find ways in which in that community in which I can serve. And it can be super simple things like greeting people at the door on Sunday or just joining in a life group and supporting the people around you. I think it's so important now that we just connect with humans. I think we get so locked into our screens day in and day out, and I think there's such a need for us to connect physically and spiritually with people one-on-one as much as we possibly can.
It's so easy to do, and most people don't even think about it. It's like when you're standing in line someplace, turn around and say hello to the person behind you and something encouraging. Just
100.
it lift their whole day. You never know what people are going through, and everybody's going through something.
That is so true. And I'm such a believer in that. Everybody is walking through something. And, you could be walking through a great time. You could be walking through a bad time. But I mean, even just a compliment. Hey, that dress is so pretty. I really think you look great today. I mean, those little compliments can really change somebody's day. And I just think that, the media wants to divide us so much. And I think that most of us aren't divided. I honestly don't think it's a representation of how we live our lives and in the real world and what we experience day in and day out. And I think the most, the most opportunities that we have to be able to connect with people, have conversations with people, look people in the eyes, shake their hand, give a handout to somebody on the street corner. I think that's really important. Everybody's going through something, and I think that human connection is just so critical right now.
And asking for advice. People love to help each other. And when you just ask somebody, you see something. I went to the grocery store earlier today, so we're going to talk about the grocery store.
Yeah.
They got some weird vegetable. You have no idea how that thing is cooked, or fruit that's, odd. Ask them about it.
Right,
Let them tell you something. And it allows them to get puffed up a little bit and makes them feel better.
Right. It's
and
so
you'll
true.
learn something.
Exactly. And everybody has gifts, right? We all come from different walks of lives and we all have talents and, we're all uniquely made and, and we all have a purpose in this world. And I think that, the more that we can, again, it's just that human connection, just reaching out and actually connecting with somebody. It's so powerful.
And I think this all circles back into what you do
Mhm.
in in the business world, because it's really all sales is about is connecting with others and helping them, providing solutions to problems that people experience in everyday lives.
That's so true. So yeah, I own a full service advertising agency, and I think now more than ever, the most important thing brands can do is really just tell their story and be authentic about their story. And when I say authentic, it doesn't mean fake authentic; it means truly authentic. So really tell your story about who you are as a brand. How you're differentiated, how you're unique, what sets you apart from your competitors, and tell it in a way that's meaningful and in a way that's going to truly connect with your target audience. So that's kind of what we really focus on right out of the gate when we start working with clients is really, having a comprehensive look at the business overall and really developing a very thoughtful strategic plan that's going to help that company figure out how they tell their story. Obviously, who they're talking to, but how they're going to tell their story in a way that's compelling, that's going to move the needle in terms of their sales. And also just how they're going to build their brand both qualitatively and quantitatively, and how they're going to drive the needle. And so, obviously, that strategic plan consists of a lot of different things, but most importantly, it's really that storytelling part.
I love that. And I think I want to circle into the what's the biggest piece of advice that you tried that didn't work? Because I think that's going to slide perfectly right in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I think what we always discover really with most all of our clients, and this has just kind of been a pattern for many, many years, is that people think organic social media is kind of like the be all end all. And there's such a difference between, especially for businesses. Okay. So there's such a difference between paid media and then what's called organic media. And organic would be just your regular Facebook profile page that you have as a business, not paid ads, but it's just the business page that you've put up on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so forth. And you're posting a lot of content every week, and you're putting a lot of effort into it. And you may not be seeing a lot of return on that. And there's a reason for that is because you are a business and Zuckerberg, being the business person that he is, isn't going to let you build your business on his back for free. So that content that you're spending a lot of time and investing a lot of energy in is only getting seen. Maybe 2 to 3% of your followers are getting served that content. So you just have to be mindful of it. It's definitely a necessary evil. And when I say that, it's like having active organic social channels is really critical because search engines place a huge emphasis on it. So, having fresh content is really critical, and having integrating keywords, industry keywords that people may be searching into your content, that's going to help elevate you in search. But the other reason is because people are using social media as search engines themselves. And so they're going in, they're checking out the relevancy of your business, seeing if you have active social signals. When was the last time you posted? If you didn't post for 2 or 3 years, then, there's the assumption might be that you're not even open for business anymore. So there is a need for organic social media, but you just have to be really mindful of the expectation of what you're going to get back out of it. And so it's just, balancing that. And I think a lot of people get really confused thinking, oh, I have these free advertising channels and we're placing all this emphasis in it. And we're just not getting a lot of likes, and we're not getting a lot of shares, and we're not getting a ton of engagement, and my sales really aren't really moving that much. Well, no, they're not going to. And that's just, I think people just they really truly don't understand kind of the limitations, for businesses, the business limitations on organic social media. But when you do that combined with paid advertising, it can be extremely powerful.
Yeah. And using it when you're using it to like test stuff to
Hmm.
see what works and then double down on it with money.
Yeah,
Like,
100%. So
like,
we develop content, what's called A/B testing.
mhm.
So we'll do several. We'll do post as stills. We'll do post as a reel. We'll do a carousel. We'll have a certain message in one post, a different message in another. We may focus on one product in one post, and we're really looking at the analytics of the performance of those posts. And then when we see a performance. A strong performance from a specific post, whether it be a video ad, or a video post, or just even the messaging that we might be using or the language that we might be using. Then we create what's called lookalike ads or lookalike posts to kind of mirror that messaging because we know it performs well. And we're also doing our research and looking at like what in the industry is performing well. So it may not even just be the posts that we're creating for our client, but what are competitors in their space doing? What type of content are they creating that's actually getting a lot of engagement? And we'll analyze that, look at data, look at market trends, and then try to shape a plan kind of based on that.
So do you actually help um, uh, brands put together that ads in terms
Mm-hmm.
of you tell them, okay, go make a video about XYZ. This is what the background needs to look like. I mean, is that how
Yeah, we do everything.
granular you get?
Yeah, we do everything. So we're full service. I have two videographers in house. So if we're creating video content for social media or for paid ads, so obviously now in the digital space, we have lots of video content that we leverage. So we leverage it in paid meta campaigns. So that would be paid ads in Facebook and Instagram, video in LinkedIn. There's also like video pre-roll advertising. So it's almost like display advertising, but it's video advertising across the digital ecosystem. We're obviously using streaming television, buying a lot of streaming television ads. Excuse me. So we're using a ton of video. And so we are helping our clients craft that video content. So we're writing it, we're producing it, we're shooting it, we're editing it, we're doing kind of the whole soup to nuts, if you will, video production. And really the reason we do that is, one, most of our clients don't have that capability in house. That's a big reason why, but also because we're pretty much overseeing their entire advertising, and drip marketing activities that they do on a regular basis. And so it's all very seamless. So, if we have specific themes that we're focused on in one given month, we want that to be very consistent across all of our platforms. So if we're pushing email campaigns or direct mail, or we're doing traditional media, paid like radio, TV, outdoor billboards, that type of thing, and then digital, we want that messaging and that campaign to be seamless across all customer touch points. So yeah, it makes sense for us to be doing it. But yeah, we have all the infrastructure in-house and all the resources in-house to be able to create all that content. Same with social media. We're developing all the social media content, the written word, all the videos, the still photos, the animations, anything that you would use in a social media post. We're creating all that content as well.
So who are your ideal clients? Are they, I'll just let you
Oh yeah, no. So it's
tell me.
honestly, it's super random. We're not really industry specific, although we do have industry expertise in a couple of areas. Have a lot of experience in utilities, broadband, telecom, hospitality, entertainment, tourism. We have a lot of experience in that space. We actually work with a lot of manufacturing companies, so it's really all over the board. A couple hair salons. I mean, it's just like everything in between. We usually, try to stay within a monthly minimum. Most of our clients are on retainer, and we kind of do a set amount of marketing activities every single month. And so they pay us for our services. And then if they're doing ad campaigns, they pay for the media, but we book and plan the media. So we negotiate all the rates for the media buys, and then we do all the ad campaign development in-house. So our clients are extremely diverse. We have a company that actually manufactures microscopes for nanoscience research, and all the way to a large company out of St. Joseph, Missouri, that manufactures additives and supplements for farm animals, so cattle, equine, pigs. goats, sheep, dogs, and just literally everything in between. So it's a lot of fun. It keeps you on your toes, and you have to really get your arms around their business really, really quickly. And we try to, like I said, we try to be very strategic out of the gate. So I think what really separates us from traditional advertising agencies is that we don't just jump straight to campaign. We usually spend the first 4 to 8 weeks, usually 8 weeks, developing a very comprehensive strategic plan that's aligned with whatever the company's revenue goals are, so that we know what we have to do to reach those revenue goals. And then we're making, the most judicious recommendation about what they should be spending on advertising based on what those revenue goals are, what's appropriate. And so we do that so that we have a roadmap to success, so that we're not just developing campaigns, making cool creative, throwing it out there, seeing what sticks. We're developing every campaign with a purpose. And that purpose is based on market research. It's based on data. It's based on the competitive landscape. It's based on the company's goals. So a lot of variables go into how we craft these marketing and advertising plans. But it really is, I think, without question, the best way to approach it out of the gate, because then everything that you're doing thereafter is really rooted in something purposeful.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And if you were just going to bring it down to a, a smaller level, because a lot of the people that I speak to are generally, they're solopreneurs, they're
Sure.
coaches and
Yeah.
solopreneurs, and they're getting into they're mostly, they lean on organic marketing.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, if I just post on Facebook every day and make my
Mm-hmm.
offers, I'm gonna make $1 million next month,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't
Mm-hmm.
going to happen, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to burst their bubble.
Right.
But if you take what you've been saying and you scale it out and you map out what your plan is based on where you want to go, this could be scaled down to
Sure.
like
Sure.
a
I think the best
smaller
place to
level.
start is to really, how much money do you truly think you can make in a year? And then you should probably say, I need to invest a percentage of that into marketing myself. And it can be small, and it can be organic, especially for solopreneurs. And absolutely, I think solopreneurs should leverage social media as much as they possibly can. But I think the best thing starting out is to just what we talked about from the very beginning of this podcast, is to make human connections. Just talk to everybody that ask for your friends to introduce you to people, send out emails, go on podcasts, try to connect with people as much as you possibly can. And then you start making connections. And then, even I've been in business now. CMOco's been in business. It'll be, gosh, I have to think about this. 15 years. This May will be 15 years in business. And to this day, even with all the outreach that we do, and we're a 7-figure agency and we do really well. But like, honestly, to this day, our leads are mostly word of mouth, are mostly referrals from clients that we've worked with in the past who've referred us, or we've worked with an individual at an organization who's since left and gone on to another business, who has then come back to hire us to help us with that business, for us to help them with that business. So, just really leveraging as many connections that you possibly can, I think, is really the best and most efficient way for small businesses to really start to get some traction.
Yeah, we all run on connection.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like be invisible and think that
People are
money is
just
going
going to
to
come.
just like, yeah, just
Yeah, no,
doesn't happen.
we scrape claw. Well, what do I say? We scrape claw, and like, do everything we can for every penny we earn. So it's a lot. It's hard work, and yeah, sure, we have some great successes and so forth, but we have a lot of failures too. So, as any small business, we'll take 5 steps forward to take 6 steps back, to take 8 steps forward to take 4 steps back. So it's ebbs and flows. We're no different than any other business out there. Even though we've grown for sure over the years, we still have all the same struggles as we did when I first started, and it was just me, really. I had a partner that had another company that had some infrastructure that I would rely on. But it was really just me from the beginning, kind of getting business in the doors and managing accounts. And I eventually bought out my partners and kind of went out on my own, and then hired staff and so forth. But I did it extremely judiciously. I only hired when I really could afford it. I didn't take on debt to hire people. I was extremely cautious, maybe too cautious. Maybe I should have, looking back and seeing how some businesses really scale. They do take on debt to really kind of invest in the company and get resources and that type of thing. I think I was a little nervous because I was a single mom raising 2 kids. And so I had a little risk averse in that regard, but most of all, still willing to take on some risk and so forth. But I mean, it's just year over year, day by day, hour by hour, is kind of how you just kind of get through it.
Yeah, you do. Every day is a new experience.
Hmm.
You talk about storytelling a lot, and
Hmm.
when you were talking about building these campaigns, and you take 8 weeks in order to like really understand the business,
Hmm.
it it you want to talk about developing the story
Hmm.
that you
Yeah, sure.
tell? I know some of the bigger advertising campaigns that we see out there, like Apple or Coke, they their whole advertising journey takes the consumer along with them and pulls them into the story. So how does all that work for
Yeah,
you?
absolutely. And obviously it's going to be so very different from depending upon the type of business it is and the type of resources that they have and obviously the story that they have to tell. So, obviously, let's say, for example, I'm just going to use 2 different examples. So like for our hair salon clients, we can get a lot more fun. We can do a lot more fun. Their brand is a lot of personality. They're selling people. They're selling the stylists. They're selling their work. They're selling their reputation. They're selling their personalities. And so we really leverage that in their storytelling. And obviously, the owners of the salon, they have their own story to tell and their expertise, and so we showcase that a lot. But it's for them, it's extremely about making personal connections for them. And then, with our science client, for example, it's very different, right? It's a very different approach. So it's more direct marketing. It's more reaching out and explaining the results of the research that their microscopes do, what these microscopes do that others don't do, how they're different, how they're going to elevate someone's research. So it's just it's a very different story and a very different approach. But each business should have a story to tell, right? Each business is solving or should be solving some sort of problem, or should be providing, let's say it the other way, should be providing a great solution to something. And I say that we're different from other ad agencies because we are so strategic out of the gate, whereas I think most agencies are hired to develop a campaign for a point in time. Even though they may be working with a business for many, many years, they're still, in many cases, just developing ad campaigns for a specific season or a specific event. And we're more of a strategic partner with our clients. We really operate like their in-house chief marketing officer that just doesn't happen to sit inside the organization. So we bring that C-level thinking and expertise that they may not have in-house. And then we bring all the infrastructure to be able to execute on any strategy that we develop. And so it's just a little bit of a different twist. But we do have clients that come to us and just need an ad campaign for a point in time. And we'll do that all day long, of course. But I think our value proposition and how we tell our story is very different from other agencies. And so I think, again, just every brand has a story to tell, and I think it's so critical now with so many messages out there, and I don't know what the numbers are, but they're insane. We talked about this. I talked about this recently with somebody else, but the number of impressions of ads and messages that we see every single day is just so high. It's insane. And so for us to retain any kind of information, it's so important that we are very clear with our message, we're very differentiated, unique, and that we also are authentic. And when I say authentic, what I mean by that is that whatever we say we are is what we actually are. Whatever we put out there as an ad message, when somebody hires us, that's the experience they'll actually receive. So I think people took authenticity for a long time and was just like, oh, I need to show behind the scenes of our business, or I need to, you know, have a conversation with somebody and have it be really raw. I mean, I guess you could say that's authentic, but truly to me, what I think true authenticity is being who you say you are.
Yeah. And and when it comes to marketing and storytelling, involving the audience, your potential clients in a community, you bring them into the experience with you
Mhm.
and allow them to feel what they might feel if they take the next step with you versus being advertised at, which I think we're all really tired of and we're blind to so much. We need to see, it used to be like 7 times. Now,
Mm-mm.
I'm I don't know for sure, but I would suspect it's much higher because we are marketed at rather
All
than
day long.
invited along for the
That's
journey.
That's exactly right. And I think that's one of the things that we're really focused on too, especially with the clients that we work with, and when we're doing social, they're like helping them with their organic social media, is we're like, not every post should be an ad, not every post should promote a product. We want you to make sure that you understand the lifestyle of the people that you're targeting and what they truly care about and what's
Yeah.
going to connect with them. And it doesn't always have to sell something. People want to know that businesses get them, that they understand them, that they know what they're going through, that, oh, I can relate to that, because um, that's what you're going to connect with, and it's not to say that you shouldn't have, every now and then have mention a product or what have you in a social media post, but it truly is not to be, like you said, every single customer touch point shouldn't always be a selling customer, a selling message. It should be I connect with you, I understand that lifestyle. And that's where we do use a lot of market research, a lot of data, try to really get inside a specific target audience, if you will. So it's making sure that you really understand who that target customer is, what they care about, what motivates them into action, what's going to resonate with them, what type of messages will move the needle. And a lot of that sometimes you do experiment with, but having a really good understanding of who your target audience is, first and foremost, is one of the most critical things, obviously, that you can understand.
And when it comes to putting your message out there, being able to relate, to put content out that your ideal client looks at and says, that's me,
Mhm.
to draw them in is super important. And then for them to have the feeling like, oh, yeah, they really do get me. They could probably help me with this problem versus, um, yeah, I think that they might be able to help me. It sounds sort of like maybe. Maybe I'll just look at it and instead of being really confident. And so when you do make the offer, they're like, heck yeah, I'm going to do that because they've said all of these other things that make me want to feel that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it is hard, like for example, in our space as an ad agency, we have all these diverse companies coming from all these very different and unique industries. And certainly we're not proficient at every single industry or really live the lifestyle of every single target audience that they're going after. Um, and so, like I said earlier, we have to get our arms around their business really, really quickly, but we also really rely on the business who knows. Nobody knows their business better than the people who own and run their business, right? So
Mhm.
we have to really rely on them to tell us, are we on point? Does this sound like something will resonate? And then once we kind of get a good understanding and a good feel, then we can elaborate on what we've started, and kind of be less reliant on the client to guide us. But, a lot of times what happens is brands end up telling their target audience what they think they want to hear versus what they actually really want to hear. And that's just being out of touch. I mean, that's just, you see it in politics, you see it in a lot of brands just,
Everything.
doing campaigns that are just completely out of touch with their target audience. Bud Light, for example, Cracker Barrel is another example. I mean, I'm just like literally, those are just two examples that are just mind blowing to me. Like, how could you be so out of touch with your target audience? And again,
Right.
that's a case where you have a CMO who thinks they want to shift the audience to who they want it to be and not what it actually is. And so,
NFL.
yeah, and it fails. It fails. Absolutely. Fails big. Fails really big. And so it really is important to, have a very as much understanding of your target audience. And that's, again, you get that information through data, through market research, through customer satisfaction surveys, that type of thing, but also really relying on your client and the business to tell you what their history is, to tell you what they know. Their salespeople are out in the field, they're talking to their target customers, they're talking to their current customers. So, they have no better understanding of the pain points that their customers have to face day in and day out. And so us having a better understanding of that allows us to craft the best and most compelling messaging that we can that's going to help them move the needle.
I had somebody tell me not that long ago that you need to look at your clients and give them what they want. Not what you think that they need, but what they want, because people want what they want, not what they need.
Sure.
You can give
Sure.
them what they need, but
Yeah.
but let them
And
know that you know what they want.
yeah, and it is a fine line because sometimes the client wants something that isn't probably very good either. Sometimes, because they think that, oh, this will be, they have their own personal opinion about what they think something should be, or who they think maybe that they're the target audience instead of who their true target audience is. So I think it's just having open communication and dialogue, and having a respectful relationship. As an agency, we try to really have really all open channels of communication. In our case, it's a little different because we're a boutique agency, so we maybe operate a little differently than a large ad agency where you're everything's very siloed. And so we have a lot of open communication with our clients, and most of my team members speak to our clients directly, so we have really great dialogue and we can form pretty tight relationships. But it's keeping that open line and open channel of communication, so and mutually respectful communication, so that you can say, hey, that I see where your idea comes from, but let's go back to the strategy. Let's go back to who that target customer is, and remember what we told you, or what we all kind of agreed on that they care about, and what we think is going to really motivate them and resonate with them, and is this approach on point? And so it just allows you to have kind of more conversations, and make sure that you can talk things through before you make a big mistake.
Yeah, and when you start getting into like the paid marketing world,
Hmm.
those mistakes can blow up quickly versus just doing some research and getting everybody getting the story arc
Right.
all in sync before you start going out there and talking about it or telling it.
That's so true. That's the digital age that we live in right now, because you put something out there, there's no taking it back. It's
Yeah.
repurposed, it's reshared, there's no taking it back. So, and also it just shows you the power of the digital ecosystem and kind of the way that ads flow, that communication flows, that social media flows, how people can latch onto it and then just literally it can spiral super, super fast. I mean, that's what really happened with, most recently with Cracker Barrel. And it probably just got way out of hand, before, before they could even address anything. It was just so blown out of proportion. And so it's just really, really important that, you're mindful about kind of the messaging that you're putting out there. And especially if you're doing big paid campaigns where you're spending a lot of money behind digital advertising and television advertising and billboard advertising, and you've got your messages in a bunch of different places. And yeah, it can go really, really south fast if it's the wrong message to the wrong audience.
Yeah. The whole Cracker Barrel thing is kind of interesting. I'm not, I, I don't know because I was really wasn't following it all that closely, but
Yeah.
it just seemed like somebody went to Canva and made a little Canva thing.
Yeah, Well, and I think it
And
got, I think it also got twisted. Like, I think it also, people put their own spin on what they thought Cracker Barrel was trying to do. I think and this is just my personal opinion. So I'm just going to preface this comment by that because I think
yeah,
everybody has their own opinion. But I think, it became somewhat political when it really never was meant to be a political statement at all. I think Cracker Barrel was just trying to evolve as a brand. I don't think they were trying to purposefully offend anybody in any way, but I think that somebody thought that since they removed a character that it was a political statement, and it just spiraled, and then sides were drawn, right? Then the line was drawn in the sand, and then sides were taken, and it just became this huge snowball that just went crazy. And I think that I don't think personally that was ever Cracker Barrel's intention was to like shift complete gears and offend their whole core audience or all their
we're
target
just trying to
customers.
come into
They
like
were just trying to
this century. So
yeah they
instead of
just
being in the 70s, they
yeah
thought maybe we would like facelift.
exactly.
And then it escaped before
Well, and I
anybody
think that the one thing that
controlled
they really missed the mark, in my opinion, was that they just removed the nostalgia out of everything, and that
it.
was what that entire brand was built on. And it
Yeah.
was just all of a sudden it became, like Denny's. It wasn't. They just it was the facelift in the stores that they were promoting, and then the revision of their branding, and the stripping away the cracker, if you will, and the barrel, and just having the text there, and kind of that whole nostalgic look back to the past, to the way we used to live, sitting out on our front porch in a rocking chair. That was all stripped away, and that was what people really identified with the most when they went into Cracker Barrel. They wanted that experience. I mean, the food's good, but you can get the food, you know,
Anywhere.
anywhere. Yeah. So it was really just the overall experience, and that was kind of stripped away. And I think that's what people really, truly were reacting to. But somehow it became this whole political thing that I think it really was never, that was never the intention of it. But
And it goes to show that when you're doing marketing and you're telling a story, you're helping people to have an experience. And Cracker Barrel's experience that they offered to their clients was this whole nostalgia thing. And when they shifted everything, that went away. And so, really, their business disappeared behind this new marketing campaign. And it's really easy to do that if you're not careful and strategic. If you're shifting your messaging, you got to make sure that you're not shifting the experience behind that messaging, which is, I think, what
no,
ultimately
absolutely. I
happened.
think again, I think it's absolutely fine, and it's probably extremely necessary for an evolution, right? I think every business
Yeah.
needs to evolve with the times. My business has evolved, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. I mean, we've always been at the core, if you will, like filled this kind of absent chief marketing officer for companies that didn't have one internally, and that's always kind of been our core message. But in terms of the emphasis of our business and marketing and advertising activities that we focus on, that's evolved a lot just because the markets demanded it, right? And so I think it's really important to, obviously evolve as a business as market conditions change, but you have to remain in touch with your audience. And, Cracker Barrel has a very, if we're using them as an example, again, they have a very loyal following, a very elderly following that's been with them for a very long time. And obviously, they have a need to evolve so that they can attract younger consumers. And that makes a ton of sense. But you don't want to do that at the expense of alienating your core target audience. And so it's just, you have to take those things into consideration. And it's just got to be an evolution over time.
Small incremental changes, not like just
Absolutely.
like it's big sweeping, let's get rid of everything and start over. Because you
Sure.
will get rid of everything and start over, including
Yeah.
all of your customers that are existing.
Sure. Listen, in my media days before I worked for major media companies before I started this agency, and I worked for the media companies that did that very thing where they just said, all of a sudden, we're going to go from a target audience of, 58 as our core target audience, and we're going to try and be an 18-year-old network. It doesn't work that way. You don't get the
The
18-year-old, and
18-year-olds
you don't
don't
get the
care.
and then you lose the 58-year-olds, and then you're host, and then you don't have anybody watching you. So it definitely has to be a process of evolution and a thoughtful evolutionary process. Again, just keeping in mind who your core audience is, who's paying your bills, who's going to consume your products, making sure that you're constantly and aware with them.
And moving, if you want to go from an audience of 58-year-olds to 18-year-olds, you start moving down slowly and
Mhm.
you're inclusive. You start including people in, not alienating the core base. I mean,
Exactly.
Budweiser, they just alienated their core base.
Oh,
Instead of just
yeah,
trying to be more inclusive,
yeah,
we love you guys too.
yeah. Yeah, that was a huge fumble. I will say that was an absolute huge fumble of not knowing. I mean, look, Bud Light is like it is fraternity boys drinking that kind of beer because it's cheap, it's affordable, and it is
And
with
overweight white guys on
yeah, and
Sunday
just
watching the game, and
absolutely, and it just. I don't know what they were thinking on that one, but again, yes, there could have been ways to maybe broaden the audience and been more inclusive without having it to be, you know, taking the
in your
approach that they did.
face.
Yeah, yeah, that was never a bright idea, I don't think. But if, in hearing the CMO talk about that, you could tell she was completely out of touch.
Yeah, I
It was what she wanted the brand to be, not what the brand was. And that's, yeah. And that's just, again, that's something just you have to keep in mind is, if our customers come in or our client comes in and says, this is what I want to be, we're always like, okay, well, how do we move the needle there? But what are you now? Because we don't want to, we don't want to alienate every dollar that's coming in the door. We want to make sure that you have an income stream and that we're still resonating with your core audience. But at the same time, there are ways in which we can, open the doors to new audiences.
Yeah, and that therein lies why someone would need to hire someone like you to
Hmm.
help them move their story along and evolve their story to be more inclusive rather than make these mistakes that it's really easy to make mistakes like that, or to think that, oh, I've got this great idea, and just like suddenly you're something different. It's not about not reimagining what's possible, but it's about having somebody else there to say, well, this is the overarching story that you're telling. Does that really fit in? Where does that fit in the story and the journey you want to take your customer on?
Yeah, and it's not only that, it's also where's the money, right? So like
Yeah.
you may say I want to appeal to this audience, but that audience may have no spending power. And so they're not going to be necessarily the consumers of your products. And so, we've had this happen to us quite often actually, where we've had somebody come in with a bit, wanting us to help them with launching a new business, launching a new brand, creating a new brand identity for a new business, and they in their minds have this idea that this type of product should, generate $1 million in the first, 2 years, and that they're open. And but they haven't done any market research. They have no idea if there's any kind of demand for that product. They have no concept of what the competitive landscape looks like. They have no idea where to be on pricing. They come in and say, "Oh, I want to price it at $150." Well, maybe you can get that same exact bag for 45, or that same exact product for, $5 less, just, what have you. So it's more than just having a good idea, or, your gut instinct absolutely should be factored into it, but it should not be the guiding principle for all your business decisions. I really encourage people to do their homework. Really do your homework. Do a strategy. Look at how your business is positioned in your competitive landscape. What are your competitors saying about their products and services? How are they saying them differently than you're saying them? Where is the lowest hanging fruit in terms of driving your sales? What is the best potential for you to get incremental income in the door? And how do you find those people who are most likely to purchase your products? And then how do you communicate with them? So, and there's so many things that go into that. It's not only the storytelling, but it's the media buying. How do we reach them? Where do we find them? How much money do we need to be spending? All these variables that go into it. So, that's why I always say that the creative and the messaging and the look and feel of a brand, that's all the fun stuff, but that really comes after the heavy lifting of doing all the research, all the strategy development, and really having a good understanding of what's going to move the needle in terms of driving your sales and how you're telling your story.
And can you make sales?
Yeah.
I see so many people, they have great ideas and they're like trying to bring it to the marketplace, and the marketplace is like, we don't have any money. We
Right.
would love, I'm your ideal client, but I can't buy that. I can't put food on my table. You
Right.
know?
Right.
Yeah,
And
that would solve the problem, but I can't buy it.
well, it was just like me starting an agency 15 years ago. The ad agencies have been around for hundreds of years, right? So,
Yeah.
so how are we going to be different? And really, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to compete with large agencies, large global agencies, nor did I really want to per se, because I knew there was a gap in terms of serving businesses. Let's say that were anywhere from $1 million to $100 million in income. That was our sweet spot. That could be our sweet spot, because those companies were in high growth mode. They were wanting more sophisticated, more strategic marketing and advertising, but they didn't necessarily have an internal CMO that could help them put together that strategy and that plan and actually execute on that. And they also couldn't afford a large global ad agency, to put them on retainer either. So, they needed an agency that could kind of, they could work with, that they could partner with, that would bring that strategic approach, that could help execute on that strategy and keep it at a price point that was reasonable within their income. And I knew that was kind of a sweet spot that we could fill. And, hey, 15 years later, here we are. So it's just, again, you have to have a plan. You have to figure out how you're going to be different.
And that takes us to your free sales uninstall survey.
Yeah.
Tell us about
So
that.
yeah, thank you. This is my little pitch. No, actually we do have a survey on our website. If you just go to leadwithlori.com, it's LEAD with LORI.com, that's going to redirect you to our website, which is CMOco.com. So either one will take you there, but Lead with Lori will take you right to this dedicated landing page. And there is a survey there that if you are struggling with sales right now, or your sales have stalled, slowed down, or you just feel like they're not growing as quickly as they should be, take this survey and we'll take a look at it, and we will send you some action items, some things that we think that you could do to maybe help move the needle, or at least some things that you could consider. That if you're not doing, these are things that you might want to implement. It's free. There's no charge to do it. We'd be honored to kind of, give you some ideas and give you some thought starters. There's also some other resources there. There's some downloadable PDFs, like the 5 things that every business should be doing to market and promote their business. So that's a free download. There's some other downloads there that people can take advantage of. But yeah, we'd love to help if anybody's kind of in a place where they feel like they're a little stuck. Not sure that we can unstick you completely, but we're certainly happy to give you some ideas.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for joining me today, Lori. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it so much. Yeah, it's always a good conversation. Thank you.
To learn more about Lori and to take her free sales install survey to get instant action steps to start generating momentum, please visit leadwithlori.com. And we'll be sure to put that link in the show notes below. Thanks for tuning in today to the You World Order Showcase podcast. If you're ready to amplify your voice, monetize your mission, and start attracting premium clients, your next step is simple. Head to thecoachesalchemist.com and schedule your free client acquisition audit. Be sure to join us for our next episode as we share what others are doing to raise the global frequency. And remember, change begins with you. You have all the power to change the world. Start today and get visible.